Sound check for the YouTube stream.
Okay, good afternoon. We will now start the afternoon session of the Scarborough panel of the Committee of Adjustment. So, good afternoon. My name is Anne McCauley. I am the chair of the Scarborough Panel Committee of Adjustment. I am joined by my fellow panel members, Mr. Stinson, Ms. Oman, Mr. Khan, and Mr. Taylor. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 190 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We have our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. The Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx or an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone, and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allocated speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you'll be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you have failed to respect this instruction. Receiving a copy of the decision of the committee. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and an email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Board or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the province of Ontario has amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Okay, the hearing procedure. Excuse me for a minute. Thank you. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. We will be starting with agenda item number 21. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to the committee. The committee may ask questions or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must be emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confirm your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we will first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues which were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. For the afternoon session, are there any declarations of interest of the panel or staff for items in the afternoon slot?
Through the chair, there are none from staff.
Seeing none from the panel members. Deferral requests. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferral?
Through the chair, there are two deferral requests for the afternoon session. The first deferral request is for item 2320 Rockwood Drive. Deferral sine die at the request of the applicant in order to revise their application and to provide proper notice.
Thank you. Is the applicant for Rockwood Drive in the room? The virtual?
Through the chair, he's virtual.
Okay. Sir, I understand you have requested a deferral and are in agreement with the deferral request?
Rock, you've been unmuted. Rock, please don't mute yourself. You're now unmuted again.
So we're just ensuring that you are in agreement with the deferral request. All you have to do is say yes.
Rock, I'm going to unmute you. Please don't touch any of the buttons on your end. You can speak. Rock, you are unmuted, so you can speak.
Mr. Secretary Treasurer, did we receive a written request for a deferral?
Through the chair, we did.
Then we can proceed with this item without further comments from the applicant.
You could if you wish.
Okay. Has the applicant been able to contact us? Yes, no?
Rock, again, you are unmuted.
Okay, I think we're having some communication difficulty here. However, we have received a written request for deferral from the applicant for 20 Rockwood Drive. What is the wish of committee?
Madam Chair, I think, given the fact that we have this in writing as per your statement, I think that it's appropriate to defer this sine die so that they can revise the application and provide proper notice. And we also don't have any speakers listed, so I think we're safe to move forward with that. So that's my motion, is to defer this application sine die.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Khan? Okay, I have a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion from Ms. Oman and seconded by Mr. Khan to defer the application for 20 Rockwood Drive. That will be deferred sine die. Thank you. Okay, do we have a second request for deferral?
Yeah, we didn't take a vote.
I'm trying to move forward. Okay, everyone agrees with the deferral? The deferral for Rockwood Drive. I didn't take a vote. Okay. All right, I will slow down. We all are in agreement. That item is deferred sine die. Okay. Mr. Secretary Treasurer, do we have any other requests for a deferral?
Through the chair, there's one more deferral request from the Deputy Secretary Treasurer for item 25, 10 Wexford Boulevard. Deferral due to improper notice.
Okay, thank you. Is there,
And through the chair, just a bit of background on this. The lot area in the public hearing notice for the consent application for proposed parts 1 and 2 parcels are incorrect. This is due to a staff error. They do not match the public hearing notices for the associated minor variance applications for parts 1 and 2. Since proper notice has not been given under the Planning Act, this item should be rescheduled to the next available hearing, which is the June 5th hearing. Should the committee approve this deferral, a new public notice will be mailed out to the public.
okay, I understand that we have an application before us with incorrect information on it. Therefore, we cannot proceed to deal with this. The staff are recommending a deferral, and that deferral will be to the next committee meeting on June the 5th, 2024. Are you the applicant, sir?
Yes, I am. David
Do you agree to
Mackay?
the deferral?
No, I don't, Madam Chair.
Do you wish us to proceed with your application incorrectly?
So, Madam Chair, the notice that was gone out was for the consent, which identified the severance of the lot into 3 parts. Those 3 parts have not changed. The actual map on the notice was correct. It was simply the numbering on the 2nd page of the notice for the areas. So the intent and purpose of the application was submitted to the public. The public has received that notice, as we have comments, both objection and support letters. The notice signs were posted on site appropriately and in time. And frankly, a deferral to correct staff's mistake is unduly impacting my client and their financing on this property by a further mortgage payment for over a month. So I would respectfully request that committee proceed with the application. I believe the notice is appropriately undertaken in terms of the intent and purpose of the application as per the Planning Act. And lastly, in the position of committee can make modifications to decisions if they chose to, for example, proceed as noted, and then correct the notice, the decision, through the decision as to what the consent will be. I don't agree with that position. I think we can proceed on the basis of what we've requested, which is the correct areas and in the variances, and committee can make that decision. You have the entire powers of the Planning Act to allow you to do so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I failed to get your name and address.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. David Mackay, MHBC Planning Registered Professional Planner, 7050 Western Road, Suite 230, Woodbridge, Ontario, L4L 8G7.
Okay. All right, we have a recommendation that this matter be deferred because inaccurate information, inaccurate notice was sent out. The applicant has questioned whether we should proceed and correct the notice. I don't think we have the authority to proceed and correct the notice, but I would hate to have the application proceed to TLAB with the wrong information on it, and that we have taken a decision hastily. We can defer this application for 1 month. Otherwise, I think our only other choice is to refuse the application as not being properly before us. Do you agree to the deferral?
Yeah. Oh, given those choices, Madam Chair, we'll take the deferral.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I believe we can schedule this application for June the 5th.
Thank you.
See you then.
Through the chair, you need to do motions and vote.
Okay. Do I have a motion for
Sure, I'll move the motion. So I think the reasons for the deferral have been outlined by staff for insufficient or improper notice, and I do apologize that I'm sorry this happened, but unfortunately we'll have to defer this. So I move a motion to defer this to the June 5th meeting.
Do I have a seconder? Mr. Khan? Okay, moved by Mrs. Ohm,
I'll second the motion.
seconded by Mr. Khan, that this application be deferred and rescheduled for the June 5th meeting. All those in favor? Thank you. Apologize for having to bring you back a second time. Okay. We'll now proceed with item number 21. We have no more deferrals.
Through the chair, that is correct.
We'll proceed with item 21 on the agenda, which is 102 BEXHILL Avenue. Okay. Application 21A is an application for consent. It's accompanied by 2 applications for variances. The application for consent is 102 Bexwell Avenue. It's to create 2 new lots, each lot having a frontage of 7.62 meters and an area of 241 meters squared. The second lot having a frontage of 262 meters and an area of 236 meters squared. And a third part, which would be a corner rounding on the corner of BEXHILL. Accompanying the consent application, we have variances. The first application consists of 12 variances for front yard setback, side lot line coverage, height of exterior walls, front yard landscaping and soft landscaping, and parking space. The second variance applies to the second lot, and it has the same variances for front yard setback, side lot line coverage, height, exterior walls, and frontage and lot area. Is the applicant in the audience? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the applications for 102 BEXHILL?
Through the
Yes?
chair, the applicant's online, not in the
Okay.
audience.
There's someone in the audience who wishes to speak to 102 BEXHILL?
I did register to speak if no one else was speaking.
No, yeah, I just want to know if there's somebody in the audience okay, you want to speak to this application? Come down to the podium, and would you please just sit, and I will call upon you at the proper time. Okay. Is the applicant online? Okay.
Leo, you've been unmuted.
Sir, you have been unmuted. If you wish to make a presentation on first the consent and then secondly the variances. You have 5 minutes.
Leo, you've been unmuted.
Hello.
Hello, would you
Hello.
please give us your name
Hello.
and your address? And then you can proceed.
Leo, please don't mute yourself or touch any of the buttons on your end. I'm about to unmute you. Where did he?
Hello. Hello.
Yes?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Leo, would you please give your name, address, and proceed?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leo Mastandrea from Lemcad Consultants at 817 Cosburn Ave, Toronto, and I'm here for the agent at 102 BEXHILL. And we're here today to sever the lot into 2 and construct 2 detached dwellings. So in terms of consent, there's over 100 lots in this area, considering from Pitt up to Pharmacy Ave, there's over 100 lots that have been split with the similar size frontage and similar size lot area. So it's consistent with what's happening in the area. In addition, we submitted 45 letters of support, and we submitted a lot of supporting photos and decisions, which are very similar to what we're asking for here today. We spoke to planning, and they have no concerns except to make our one driveway permeable pavers, only because the reason why we have more variances on the corner house is because of the engineering department asked us for the corner rounding. And due to that corner rounding, it caused variance number 9, 10, and 11 on part 2. And in addition, we spoke to planning, and they have no concerns except for the paving. Engineering had the concerns with the corner rounding, and we gave it to them, and they're okay, and we agree with all their conditions. The forestry has no concerns, and we agree with their conditions as well. And we've submitted 5 photos of cornered lots. You can pull up page number of my photos, page number 2. The photos. My supporting material. On the supporting material, there's 16 pages of photos.
Through the chair, that submission was received after the written submission deadline, so we aren't able to post that for the
Okay.
committee.
Sorry, we don't have those
do you mean?
drawings. They were received after the submission deadline. They may be in our files, but we have a deadline for which.
We actually submitted it on time, and nevertheless, regardless, I can explain. So there's 5 corner lots in this vicinity. Number 22 BEXHILL, split lot on the corner. Number 23 Pitt, split lot on the corner. Number 40 Westbourne, same. 105 Pitt, and recently 110 Mayborn. And in addition, the decisions that we also submitted, and we did submit everything at 4 o'clock that day, but that's regardless. So in addition to this, the variances are all very similar to what's been approved in the area. It's consistent, it's appropriate, and it's improving the Toronto housing stock, which is high in demand. So in my opinion, this proposal, consent and minor variances, meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. And I believe it's appropriate. And if there's any questions, I can answer them. Also, too, in addition to what I just mentioned, we spoke to the neighbor to the south, and they had a concern about the privacy. So we want to put privacy screening on the south side of Part 1. And we submitted 45 letters of support. So I think the neighborhood is in favor of this proposal.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the applicant? Yes, Mr. Stinson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your brief presentation. Just to be clear, you would comply with the conditions from the Engineering Construction Services and Urban Forestry?
Correct. We were working closely with engineering because we had to give them that corner round, so we had to give them, that's why we have that extra part, and that's why we have those additional variances on the Part 2. And we do agree with all the conditions from forestry, planning, and engineering.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair, I bring the attention of the applicant towards variance number 4, lot area, which is 130 meters square less than the allowable or acceptable. And variance number 5 is the frontage is again less. Variance number 6, lot coverage, that is 9% less than the required. These are not minor. How do you justify?
Well, if you directly behind us at 101 Westbourne, that's exact same size frontage and same size lot, exact same. Actually, they got 40%, 46% coverage, and we're only asking for 42. And variance number 5 is the same. So it's consistent. If you look at the map that you sent with the application, you can see for yourself that directly behind us, one lot to the south is exactly what we want to do.
Sir, I am not aware
And if you
of
look in the map, there's all kinds.
the reference with due respect.
You look at behind it on Westbourne, 101 in A and 101B.
I'm not aware of that situation.
As well as that similar size frontage, similar size lots just on BEXHILL. We have number 28, 59, 32, 142, 61, 59, all similar size frontage and similar size lot size and similar size coverage.
Sir, with due respect, I am only looking at 102 BEXHILL Avenue and its variances in 12 of them in front of me. So that's what I am concerned, and I am requesting you to answer what I have requested.
What I'm basically saying is it's very consistent in the neighborhood. If you look on the map right on the screen here, the same size lot right behind us on Westbourne is split into two. It's the same size lot. If you also look at, on BEXHILL itself as well, like I mentioned the numbers, same size frontage, same size lot size. So I'm not sure what you're asking me.
In your opinion, they are minor then?
Well, it is minor because it's been over 100 lots in this vicinity that have been split with same size frontage, same size lot size. So yes, I agree, it's not minor. And Toronto is in need of housing stock, so I believe it's appropriate for the development and use of the land. And in addition, we submitted 45 letters of support, and we're across from a park, so we're not. This has zero impact on any of the neighborhood.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Stinson?
Thank you, Chair. It seems that just checking out some of the information that the agent provided, there are similar lot sizes. This is, of course, not scientific, but there are similar lot sizes that have been divided into two locations. So I just want to just validate that he is on the right path of what he's telling us. Obviously, the dilemma, as to Committee Member Khan's point, is that we don't have the picture package. So it's a little difficult.
We submitted our picture package at 4 o'clock on the deadline, so we have the email to prove it. So I'm not sure why you don't have that, but I don't know what to do at this point.
Okay.
So, but you can see on the map. So number Westbourne, right behind us, at 101A and B, not directly behind us, one to the south behind us, we have 12 variances there. And they're all similar to what we're asking for. They were approved at 7.62 frontage. They were approved at 46% lot coverage. And all the other variances that we're asking for is consistent with the other package that we submitted. We submitted 17 photos, and we submitted, in addition, another 23 pages of decisions. And I'm not sure why they're not there, but that being said, if you look at the map itself, you can see that it's happened. And I've given you the addresses of all the other split lots. There's been over 100 split lots on these 5 streets.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
But similar size frontage and similar size lot area.
Okay.
And similar coverage.
Thank you, Mr. Mastrodea. At least two members of our committee have been on this committee now for over 4 years, and we're fairly familiar with the consent applications on BEXHILL and Westbourne Avenue. I think the issue is, are the variances that you are proposing appropriate? But we will address that matter. You've given us the information. We have an information package that we've seen. I can see on the maps in front of us that there are variances, or there are smaller lots on BEXHILL, on Pharmacy, on Westbourne. And because of the amount of action in this area, last week I decided I needed to do a good long site visit and drive up and down all those streets and follow along what was happening. So I can see that it's a changing area. Some of those applications that came before us, rather than get approval, they've decided that they were going to build a larger house on their existing property. And that's also visible on the property. But really, all we're talking about is your application in front of us. So we're talking about the
Madam Chair?
two consents and the variances.
We just checked, Madam Chair, we just checked the AIC, and on part 2 is our supporting material, the photos and the decisions.
Okay.
So you should have access to it. We just opened it up on
right.
AIC.
Okay, I think we've taken enough time to talk about whether we have access to it or not. I'd like to move on with this application. We have a person in the audience who wishes to speak. Sir, would you like to come to the podium, please? I need your name and address.
Thank you. My name is George Morrison. I live at 130 Bexhill Avenue, 4 doors from the said property at 102, albeit with a park in between. Consequently, I did not receive any information about this this package until I walked by the house and saw the notifications in plastic.
Okay.
I'd like to give you a little bit of background, if I could, about this house. It was owned by a D-Day, pardon me?
You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, yeah. So it was owned by a D-Day veteran who volunteered at the West Scarborough Boys Club for many years as a woodworking instructor. And he, after the war, as many, many people in our neighborhood did, I've lived there for over 70 years, built their own houses, and it gave the neighborhood a certain character. Now this character is slowly being diminished over the past little while by applications such as this, although this one in particular, as it borders on a park, is of concern, with added parking problems visible in the future. I think this is not a good use of this property. In addition, if you approve this application, you should know that you'll receive one shortly afterwards by 103 Westbourne, right behind it, who has already been denied once the opportunity to sever. The committee turned him down, possibly over concerns about congestion close to the park. I'm not sure. But he was denied, and if you approve this one, I'm sure that he will also apply to put a similar ugly house if he's going to follow the pattern at 101 Westbourne. Maybe it's the same architect. Mr. Glover built a bungalow there and added to it over the years. Mr. Glover was the D-Day veteran. The vast majority of approximately 1,000 lots in our well-defined neighborhood, bordered by St. Clair, Victoria Park, and the Warden Ravine, and the ravine continues south, crosses Pharmacy, extends through to Victoria Park and onwards. So it's a well-defined neighborhood. It has approximately 1,000 lots in it, and the vast majority of them are or were bungalows. The transformation, to me, is a serious transformation, deprives us of the character that this neighborhood had, very special character. And while it's been diminished and we are not seeking heritage designations for any building here, we think that given that this is a bungalow, predominantly bungalow area, that maybe an application should be made to build a new bungalow. Anyway, I'm open if anyone wishes to ask some questions. I'm happy to respond.
Any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. This isn't the first time there's changes on this street. You're aware of 100, you're aware of across the street from 100. So this is not the first development of people of different generations, just like the World War II vets coming home had to have subdivisions spring up overnight. You understand?
I do understand. I'd understand that completely.
Okay.
The concern, as I stated earlier, is that it congests the access to the park. The park is there. The park's not an issue with any other one of those developments. In this case, it's a concern. And I suspect that that's why 103 Westbourne was turned down, for that very reason, that it's going to congest that area, the entranceway to the park.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
Yeah, just further to that, sir, can you explain how you think this is gonna congest the park if each house has its own driveway and garage? Like, presumably the owners would park there? How do you feel the congestion would increase?
I feel that you can't guarantee that each house will have one vehicle. The house that lives opposite to me has 6 vehicles. The farmhouse, which is the original farmhouse of that area across the street from where I live, has 4 vehicles. So it seems to me there'll be street parking there, whereas now there is none.
And in terms of the actual structure, the plans?
I was not given.
Because you do understand that's what we as a committee are supposed to look at, the actual planning merits of the application.
But you also understand you're building neighborhoods. And to me, I'm trying to explain that this is distinctive in our neighborhood.
Yeah, I hear you, and you know, there are no historical designations, as you say, and the city is changing. You know,
It's on the corner of a park, and it shouldn't be. Perhaps you could look into why the previous application from 103 Westbourne was turned down and denied.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Any other questions? Okay. Back to the applicant. You have an opportunity to rebut.
So, I was the applicant for 103, and the difference here is on 103, we had a lot of windows on the street side. So specifically, if you look at page side elevation, which is page number A9 of part 2. There's no windows on that side, and that was one of the main concerns on 103. We had a lot more windows because I thought that because we were on the street, I had the opportunity to put the windows, and I didn't realize that some of the neighbors had issues. So specifically on this house, we designed it so the windows are on the inside and there's none on the outside on that street side. So if you pull up page number A9, you'll see that our north elevation has no windows. And that was one of the main concerns at 103. And it was in a different time. So now, now they introduced multi-dwelling unit bylaw. They need more diverse housing. And I believe, it's better to split the lot and create two houses as opposed to one big house, which would have the same effect.
Okay, any other questions?
Am I allowed one more comment?
No, sir. Okay, any comments? Okay, I'm going to make some comments here. As I said, I've been sitting on this committee now almost 5 years. I probably saw you before. It's the reason I went out to take a look at what is going on in BEXHILL, whether it's BEXHILL or whether it's Weyburn or whether it's, there's a May Street over there. There's an active community where new development is going in. I'm also aware of certain applications on BEXHILL, and I can't remember which ones, where we refused the applications because it was a part of BEXHILL that had no new applications to split the lots. And in that case, and it may have been yourself that came back and said, because that lot that we refused was overlooking the park, the people built a very nice, very large house on that property. So what we've got here is a community that's undergoing change. And I think it's really up to us to determine whether that change is appropriate. There is a number of lots that are almost identical to this one. I'm sure it's probably by the same applicant. Small lots, small frontage, almost 3 stories, parking garage underneath, and normally needing 8 or 9 variances. I don't see that the applicant is changing any of the variances. He's still wanting 8 or 9 variances for coverage and for building height, for front yard setback, as well as severing the lot. So I think this is an area where we really need to give some thought as to whether we want to continue this, whether we want to ask the applicant to look at his variances and see whether they can fit a bit better with the character of the area, or whether we refuse the application. Those are my comments. It's up to you, committee. Yes, I guess we are in committee.
Okay, Madam Chair, if we're in committee, look, as the agent pointed out on Westbourne, I mean, 101 A and B, to me, look very similar in size, the lot size, like as what he's proposing in this application. The proposal certainly fits within the city's, what the city's looking for, intensification. I know it's changing neighborhoods. Sometimes, you know, it's sort of on a personal level, it's maybe not what you want to see. But I think from a planning perspective, I think that this fits in with the policies that we as a committee are supposed to look at, and the zoning bylaws and how things fit and the 4 tests. So I would be inclined to support the application. There's also quite a bit of support. I would like to say to Mr. Massandrea, I know you've heard me say this many times, it would be really nice, and we didn't get the 23 decisions I think you mentioned. It'd be really nice if you put them in a chart of 1 page so that we don't have to sift through 100 pages. And yeah, and the pictures, it would have been nice if we had seen them, and certainly in this case, because it's a severance, if you could also do a little chart with the properties in the vicinity, do it within, you know, whatever, 50, 100-foot radius that does show where there are lots that are similar in size to what you're creating. I think it would help the committee a lot, and also avoid some of the questions and things that are not clear. So, but having said that, I will be supporting the application.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, I'll be supporting the application as well. I mean, this area is, like many areas in Toronto, is in transition. I just took a look up and down a number of the streets in this area on Google Instant Street View. And yes, many of the homes are bungalows, 1.5-story, post-war, 1950s. Things change, and we're seeing an example of that with this application and some of the other ones that have occurred recently, like 101 A and B Westburn, and 540 A and B Pharmacy, and there are many others, as the agent pointed out. So I think change is inevitable. I'm not concerned that this offers any kind of a negative impact on the neighborhood. In fact, I think it's a positive impact for the neighborhood and for the housing situation generally. And as Member Ullman pointed out, it fits in well with city and provincial policy for addressing housing needs in Toronto. So I'll be supporting the application.
Any other comments? No? Okay. Are we in a position for?
Sure. Yep, Madam Chair, I'm okay
now,
then. So there's forestry conditions, engineering conditions, and do you do standard consents, Mr. Deputy Secretary? No?
We
So
do
just those two.
consents and all the variances, all is in one resolution.
Yeah, so I move a motion then to approve this as a package, as I said, with forestry conditions and engineering conditions.
Okay. So you move approval?
Yep.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. So we have approval of the consent application for 102 BEXHILL and approval of the variances for that same property, variances 21B and 21A, I guess, 21C. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Mr. Stinson, Mr. Owen, Mrs. McCauley, and Mr. Taylor in favor, Mr. Khan in opposition. And I would like to say, yes, I've looked at this. I believe I agree with my committee members that this should be approved, and that's how I voted. Thank you very much, sir, for showing up. We may see you again.
If you ever want to tour, please let me know.
I've been down there a couple of times.
This will be personal.
Okay, moving on. Our next application is item number 2224 Kingswell Crescent. Is the, move on to that.
Hello?
Item 22.
Hello?
Yes, just a minute, please. 22 is 24 Kingswell Crescent. We have an applicant and an owner listed virtually. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to 24 Kingswell Crescent? Yes. Okay, would you come down to the front? Okay. The application for 24 Kingswell Crescent is an application to create 2 lots, each lot having a frontage of 7.625 meters and a lot area of 329 meters squared or 324 meters squared. The application is accompanied by variances. The variances are for lot frontage, lot area. I believe, let me just. Yes, there are 8 variances for the one lot. I believe the same number for the second lot. The lot frontage, minimum required frontage is 15.25. The proposal is 7.6. The minimum lot area is 654. The proposal is 324. And there's a building setbacks from the side and front lot line, building height, porches, proposed number of stories is 3, and there's an elevation to the front wall in terms of variances. So we have the applicant online. Would you please identify yourself and proceed to tell us about this application?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is Miriam Azimi of Permit First. My address is 9000 Jane Street, Vaughan, Ontario, L4K0M6. And I am the applicant for 24 KINGSWELL CRESCENT, the land severance application. I would like to just go through the planning rationale that we have submitted previously. Is the planning rationale along with the documents that we could pull up, or?
What are you wishing us to pull up precisely?
I have included all the photos, but previous to the, similar to the previous application, I have included all the immediate context of the site that have similar changes to their application. I included all of that in the planning rationale.
So I believe I saw some appendixes.
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I think the covering letter was really detailed. I'm not sure that would it be better to go to questions if anybody, or
It's up to her as to how she wants to do her presentation.
maybe check with her.
I'll just quickly go through the all the variances and a very brief explanation, and then if there's any questions, I will be more than happy to answer. So I believe that our proposal is very much in line with the official plan, as well as the city's EHON project, which is expanding housing option in neighborhoods. And this property is located on east side of Victoria Park Avenue, west of Pharmacy, south of Eglinton Avenue East, and north of St. Clair Avenue East. The site is known as 24 KINGSWELL CRESCENT and contains a single detached bungalow with 15.25 meter frontage, 40.82 meters depth, and the lot area is approximately 653.75 square meters. Our site includes a driveway on the east side of the existing home, which is shown in figure 2. Going through the official plan, this site is designated neighborhood in the city's official plan. And we are trying to maintain the character with our proposal, which is a 2-story detached dwelling on each severed lot. So the first variance is regarding the frontage. What is required is 15.25 meters. Our proposal is 7.625. As I have shown in figure 6A, B, and C, in the immediate context of this site, over time, many of these wider properties that formerly contained one home have been demolished and developed into 2 lots and 2 homes. And you can clearly see on those figures that I've provided. Also in Appendix 1 illustrates the average and range of lot frontage with approvals within the vicinity. The second variance is regarding the minimum lot area. What is required is 654 square meters, and what we have proposed is 324 meters for the retained lot and 330 square meters for conveyed lots. In reviewing approved variances related to minimum lot area, we observed a range of 232.2 square meters to 269.68 square meters, which I have provided a list of those approved variances in Appendix 2. This property, this subdivision was made in 1951, I believe, more than half a century ago. And I believe considering the expansion of the city, what's been proposed is very appropriate and within the lines of previously approved variances. The next item is setbacks, building setbacks. What is required is 0.9 meter, and what we are proposing is 0.76 and 0.79 on each lot. And again, after reviewing the variances that have been approved in the neighborhood, an average of 0.65 meters and a range of 0.31 meters to 0.93 meters have been approved in the area.
You have less than a minute to wrap up, please.
Yeah, again, I have provided sufficient information even regarding the maximum height and other variances, but the maximum height was only triggered by the integral garage, and technically we are only proposing a 2-story with an integral garage that increases the height, but the height is still within what's been permitted, and we are only asking for 0.29 meters above what's required.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
I'm
You
ready to
conclude.
answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of, yeah,
Okay.
come on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I want to ask this simple question. Madam, please contemplate on what I'm asking on variance number 1 and variance number 4. It's a lot frontage in variance number 1, and you are saying the requirement is 15.25. And in variance number 4, lot frontage, you are asking 12 meter. Which one is which one?
Well, our proposal remains the same. The difference is we are triggered by 2 different requirements for lot frontage, which was brought up in the zoning notice. One is pertaining to Chapter 900.3.10 bylaw 569/2013, and then the next one is Chapter 10.20.30.21b, the same bylaw. And the first one, if you go through the zoning notice, is basically this is the lot frontage that was in existence in the day of the enactment. So these variances, these zoning bylaws are different, but our proposal remains the same. We have always came forward with the same proposal. We are trying to divide the lot in half, and we've always proposed the same number. And I believe we are just addressing two separate zoning bylaws.
My second question, ma'am, is variance number 7. You are asking for 3 stories, allowable is 2 stories. Please explain what is the difference.
Your Honor, the difference is only in the height of, we are proposing a 2-story with a basement. And the reason this has been triggered is because of the integral garage and height overlay map. Otherwise, this building is technically a two-story building. And we had to increase the main floor height in order to accommodate an integral garage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, I have a question for the applicant. Could the staff bring up figure 6A, examples of severed lots with 2 new homes? It's a map with the lotting in the area. It's a map.
Yeah, it's further down.
Okay, the next one probably. That's probably
It's page
the one.
19.
Yep. Okay. On this map, you have shown a number of lots that are severed lots with 2 new homes. I noticed that everything that you're showing is on the west side of Victoria Park. In other words, it's in the East York community and would be subject to the East York zoning bylaws when this was, when these lots were prepared. I see a lot at the very top here being the subject property. Is there anything on the, shall we call it the Scarborough side in this area that had 2 new houses of 7.6 meters frontage?
Your Honor, I tried to search and find more on that side, but I wanted to stay as close as possible to this property, and that's why I only brought up those examples. If I have more time, I will be able to provide more examples along Scarborough side. But again, the EHON project applies to the entirety of the city, and I believe we could set an example and precedent in our area in order to improve the housing options.
Okay. I'm looking at this, and as the chair, I should actually give the members any opportunity for asking questions. No? No? No questions? Okay. All right, are we ready? Do you have any questions on the variances? I forgot. There's a whole audience out here. So, no questions of the applicant? All right.
Your Honor, I just wanted to mention one thing, if I'm allowed.
Yes, go ahead.
We would like to approve of all the 2 conditions and 16 advisory comments provided by Development Engineering at Scarborough District, as well as the urban forestry conditions.
You're in agreement with those conditions, are you?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I have the owner, Mr. Gurner. Is he wanting to speak?
Through the chair, the owner no longer wishes to speak.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we now turn to participants in the audience. Would you come to the podium, give your name and your address? Each one of you has 5 minutes.
Okay, well, my name is Mike Sinjeric. I live at 26 Kingswell Crescent. I live right next door to the property in question. My family and I have lived in this area for over 20 years. We lived in the property behind the property in question, and 9 years ago went through this very process to build our dream home next to it. So I've been here and have gone through a lot of these variances as well. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. And I didn't pass because it didn't suit the community, and I've got the reasons, rationales from the committee here as well. It was from height, setbacks, and whatnot, but we worked together and we created a fantastic house, and if you see the pictures, you'll see it. Before I go any further, there are a handful of people that could not attend today. They didn't realize that they had to register in order to participate online. That includes some teachers, nurses, and a handful of senior citizens as well. So needless to say, I've been here for over 20 years. I have 2 children, one going to the local high school, another one going to the local elementary school down the street. We settled our roots here because of, the amazing matrix and unique character. Claire Lee has a unique mix of lot sizes that unfortunately seem to be dissipating from the other side of St. Clair on the south side. You gracefully pointed out that there are no examples of this happening in this particular neighborhood. And the only thing that's happening in this neighborhood is our houses like mine being built. Beautiful homes taking advantage of the land and respecting the land. We moved because of the greenery, the space, and the like-minded community members like the ones you're about to meet today. And speaking of which, the people that couldn't participate today, Peter is going to represent them with a letter that they provided and have all signed as well. Forgive me, I'm painfully nervous. We have a huge number of condos coming to this area. And it's going to be the surrounding perimeter of this neighborhood. And if I'm not mistaken, it's over 60,000 units. Now, the densification of the perimeter, I believe, is necessary. But densifying the inlet streets and the interior neighborhood is a little outrageous. There have no studies been shown what this will do to our neighborhood. And the city is going through a lot of studies to see how the densification of these condos will affect the infrastructure and the community. But I don't believe anything has been done for the community inside and the people that have been living there for decades. So we are very concerned. We moved here because we thought it was awesome. And we're seeing it change hastily. And I think that we need to give it the consideration it deserves, so we don't look at this as a big mistake in the future. The bylaws in question, the variances in question, I can go through them individually if you like, or save you guys some time because I want to make sure that I can finish. I found it quite odd that the severance application stated 2 stories when the variant application was a 3-story, and it was buried under line number 7. I thought it was just a little sneaky. The minimum frontage is over 50%. I'm just going to go through each variant one by one, is over 50% or around 50%, so I would consider that a major variant.
You have less than a minute.
Okay.
Do it quickly. Talk fast.
I'm trying. Height. I'll talk about height the most. I went for the same variant when I built my home. I had a flat roof, and if you had I had to change it to a sloped roof because with a flat roof, you can only go 7 point something meters. This house appears to have a flat roof as well, and it's going over 9. Now, if you talk about the back elevation in the yard is on a slope. So we're looking at an elevation from the back, which these neighbors are going to be looking at, of over 10 meters. So again, my numbers might be off just a little bit, but these are massive changes, and these are changes that I went through and I abide to and made sure I fit into the community. A lot of the I appreciate the
If
time.
you would just conclude.
If I can conclude, I lost my train of thought, but
Maybe some of your.
people in this neighborhood are buying up these lots because they're spacious and beautiful. I understand there's a housing crisis, but a housing crisis shouldn't be hastily considered in an area like this, knowing that we're having a lot of densification coming. Not a little, a lot. So in closing, I'm hoping you guys will see our point of view, and we'll go from there. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry, would you come back to the podium, please? We have some questions.
Yes.
Mr. Stinson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Mike, for your presentation. You built your dream home in this neighborhood. What's the address again?
26 Kingswell. It's right next door to the property in question. If you see the pictures, you'll see, my wife and I are both designers. Like I said, we lived in the neighborhood 13 years before we were able to purchase.
You're next door to the north of the property?
Next door to the north, yes.
Okay.
So if you look at the street, you'll notice that, the house in question is a bungalow, but you have a two-story single-dwelling home, which is mine, and the two on the other side are also two-story single-dwelling homes. So having this spiked right in the middle of this would be quite odd.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No more questions? Okay. All right, the next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Laura Higgins. I live at 21 Kingswell Crescent, Scarborough, Ontario, M1L 3E2. If you pull the map back up, I am directly across the street.
Thank you, Ms. Higgins. Go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
The energy level's pretty low in here. I'm going to speak hard and fast. Everyone get ready. Okay, so exception 1. That is less than 50% of the minimum required lot frontage. That is major. The exception 2 is less than 50% of the minimum required lot size. That is major. The minimum required setback is 16% less than it's supposed to be, and the lot frontage is 37% lower. When we talk about maximum permitted height, we're 15% greater. The actual number of stories appears now to be 1.5 times larger. And I don't buy that just because there's a garage tucked underneath that that's not a 3-story. And the elevation from the lowest point is 1.46, almost 1.5 times higher. So this is the Committee of Adjustment and minor variances. I believe all of those are major variances. I have lived in the community for 20 years. I served for at least 3 years on the Golden Mile and Development Plan. I am well known to the councillors that have been incumbent at the time. I run the Golden Mile and Neighborhood Community Association, and I walk my dog through this neighborhood twice daily. There are no short, skinny, thin lots in the area. I get that Clare-Lee also includes the area south of St. Clair. That area got densified first because of its proximity to the subway. And at that time, there weren't a lot of condos available for people. In our particular community, if you look at every application that has been made in the area to build a new home, I'm going to guess 90% of them retained one part of the original home, and then built up and out from there. You can still walk through the neighborhood and see the setback is all equal. You can see some elements of the original strawberry box homes. You can see that they have fit onto their lot with an appropriate amount of distance between the driveways. And you can see that there is very much at least a third of soft landscaping. All of my neighbors and I here all have massive vegetable gardens in our properties. We are parents for the most part. We have children who have indicated to us that they would like to take over the home when we pass. There are several neighbors in the community who already have children and grandchildren living on the street. All of the houses immediately to the right and to the left are rebuilt or extensions within the past 10 to 12 years. So those people chose to build not one family, they have multiple families living in them, but a single dwelling, not cleave the lot. In essence, if you look at the curve that I'm on, the inside of the curve, none of us on that side have 50-foot lots. If you look at the other side of the curve, some of those people have 50-foot lots. If you were to approve this project on that street in particular, you would end up with a large home, 2 squishy infills, maybe another large home, maybe a couple squishy infills, but you would never have retained the character of the neighborhood with multi-generational, inherited properties, well-maintained. It is virtually impossible to find a lot to buy in Clairlee. And again, I'd like you to look back, if you can, at all of the applications in the last 20 years to see that nobody is building infills north of St. Clair and wedged from Victoria Park to Pharmacy. These are people who have chosen to create this neighborhood. I served on the parent council. The Clairlee Public School has no space for densification. The only way you would find a spot for children is if they get bused to a new community. There are no plans yet in the Golden Mile Development Plan to build new schools when the 60,000 people move into the condos. And there's a known problem with drainage. Right now, there's an underground stream that runs between my property and Peter's and crosses into Mike's. We have all had drainage issues. That's fine. I think I've said what I need to say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Questions?
Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. Madam, you mentioned about large homes and squished in, these type of homes. One of the 4 tests that the committee has been in front of them is to make sure enhancement of the area, and the proposal is enhancement of the thing. What can one do when there are examples presented to us, and those precedences bother me all the time? And this is one of the problems that we have to deal with. So you have to understand that there are difficulties.
First of all, they're going to be able to build 6-story homes on Pharmacy. They're already putting in all the condos within walking distance. There will be ample opportunity to densify the neighborhood within walking distance of the LRT stations. We are not denying that. What I am saying is that this particular neighborhood is embracing the single-family home, and in the absence of an actual planning guideline for the community, which now that this is happening, I will go next to my counselor and work on a cohesive plan for the neighborhood that will guide this area so that no one can say, well, I was the first in and I built the infill, so I set the precedent, so now every other house must fall. This is the precedent case. And we as a group will waken up the rest of the neighborhood to ensure that this particular neighborhood allows for a cohesive, livable neighborhood. And I would like to remind you that these strawberry box houses were created to allow the densification. They were designed with a front door for the main owner and a side door for a basement suite. They were designed with enough land to grow produce to survive and produce to sell in order for people to live through any circumstance. So the houses, even as strawberry box houses, are already meant to be multiple dwellings.
Okay, thank you very much. Next person, please. Oh, sorry, another.
Oh, question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. You're very well spoken. I want to say to you, you've noticed the size of this lot for the application, and you've noticed the imprint of the proposed buildings. Did you see how much backyard remains?
Yeah, and I think that in my own backyard, because I have a lot that's 45 by 145, I may come to you in the future and suggest that I build a backyard house, and I would invite my mother or my child or a renter or a student. I've rented out my house for the last 20 years to students who go to Centennial. I am not against there being a single house built on this property that fits with the context of every other house. I think that that would be fantastic that they develop it. This person is not going to lose money. If they build 2 infills and sell it and make $1 million, they could build 1 house and sell it and still make $1 million. They're not going to lose money if this is declined. What they're going to lose is the precedent of breaking up this neighborhood and then going and piecemeal buying and destroying other streets.
Any other questions?
I have one other question, Madam Chair.
I'm happy to appear all day.
Just since you were on that, if it's a single home, if it were a semi that looked like a single home, would you still object to that?
So I have seen some absolutely gorgeous architectural semis that look like they're one home but have 2 doors. I think that it would depend on what they're asking. If what they decide to do is put 2 garages under the bottom and then still break the height variance so that they end up with this tower in between everything else, I think I would still object to that. I'd have to see the design. I mean, legally, we're all allowed to, turn everything into multi-rooming houses now. So this isn't an argument about how many people are going to live there. This is, you look and go down that street and you see that what they want to do is build closer, higher, wider, with more driveways, and it just doesn't fit. And no matter if there are other lots in the area that are also 50, there's not enough of them that you're going to eventually, down the road, turn this into a community of infills. Because no one else will be able to do that, and you're going to end up with something out of context.
The only reason I asked is because if it were a semi, it would still look like that 50-foot wide lot, right?
Right, yeah.
Whereas if it's 2 infills, because they're not attached, it doesn't. It looks like 2 separate lots. That's the only reason I asked you the question.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'd still need to see what it looks like, but that makes more sense to me than the way that they want to chop it up now and come forward and be closer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next person.
Hi everyone, my name is Augusto Domingo. I live at 15 Harris Park Drive.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Domingo, Domingo.
Okay. And your address again?
15 Harris Park Drive, Scarborough. I live...
Harris Park Drive is the properties just to the...
It's behind.
The rear. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you have 15 minutes?
Yeah, we'll take it.
I'll take
15?
I'm
Sure.
writing 15 Harris Park Drive.
Okay.
Sorry, you now move to 5 Harris Park Drive.
I'll be short, so it's just a quick message here. We lived in our house for 18 years already. So we moved in 2006. So 24 Kingswell is behind us. We're sharing the property line with my neighbor on the right. The backyard of 24 Kingswell affects my backyard as well. So, and I have 2 kids, a daughter and a son. They grew up in Clearly. They attended the local school, Clearly Public School. And I have 2 concerns for this project. First is about the property that's being built. So it's being built behind me. So my concern is behind the house. And the other one is the long-term effect of building this kind of houses in our community. Okay, so for the property concern, the lot size of 24 Kingswell has a higher elevation compared to our backyard. So looking at the document CA plans, drawing number A6, the height of the house at the backside will be 10 meters high. So having that height will be like towering in our backyard, like when we're looking at our backyard, right? So that's my concern. With also, there's no like trees in the backyard, and they're only gonna be having like 15 meters from the back of the house to the property line. So it's gonna be pretty close to our backyard. So that's my concern with regards to privacy. For the effects to the community, so to make space for the 2 houses, for what's going to happen, 24 Kingswell, they have to remove trees, right? So this has the effect on our environment. So our houses in the neighborhood have at least 1 tree in the front and few trees at the back. So if you start building like these houses serving lots, you have to remove those trees, right, to make way for the houses to build. So that's my concern for the environment. And also, the creating or severing the lot creates non-uniformity, right, on the neighborhood. As far as I know, this is the first application for the severing of lot in the Clearly area that is north of St. Clair Avenue East, in between Pharmacy Avenue and Victoria Park, south of Eglinton. The last one that I have is, as condos, townhouses are being built along the Eglinton Avenue East corridor. It's creating a lot of densification already in our area, and dividing lots into 2, I believe will also add to that densification. And I'm just afraid that the city will not be able to handle the services that is needed by that community. Those are my concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, any questions? Yes, Mr. Kingston.
Thank you for your presentation. How many trees do you have in your backyard, sir?
So for me, I don't have any.
Thank you. And also, you have a structure in your backyard? At the very back?
I have a deck.
A deck. Do you have a
Yes.
building at the very back of your property?
I'm sorry, sir?
Do you have a building, a structure at the very back of your property?
I have a shed.
You do have that, yes. And would your property back onto the proposed site, or does it predominantly back onto your neighbor, Mr. Mike's backyard?
It's actually predominantly to my other neighbor.
Mr. Mike?
No, Mike is beside the project, the property. I'm at the back.
No, I know where you are.
Yes.
I am trying to ascertain. Do you predominantly back onto Mike's backyard or the proposed?
Yes, predominantly
yes, I thought
Mike's.
so, and I wanted to clarify that
Yes.
for us as a committee.
Yeah, I have about maybe 12 feet backing to the property that's being addressed.
Any other questions? Any other questions? No? Okay. Next
you.
speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Georgina Stavrakos, Stavrakos. I'm at 17 Harris Park Drive. I'm also on the back end. I just want to talk about a couple of key areas. As Madam Chair has mentioned, and Laura, I've walked every street in this neighborhood. This would be a precedent in terms of severing this lot. There is no other homes that have been severed in this community. So what we're looking at is housing speculators trying to control our neighborhood and having their business interests take precedent over private citizens' property rights. So our property, sorry, is that better? Sorry. So our property rights are being negated and disregarded and violated in the interest of business interests. And I have heard everyone talk about a housing crisis. This is a drop in the bucket. These are going to be $2 million homes. It is not going to address any affordability issues that Torontonians are experiencing. The other issue that I have with this proposal is, as my neighbors have mentioned, their Golden Mile redevelopment and the Crosstown LRT are going to impact our community immensely. There is already going to be huge densification. There is a proposal for thousands, 35 to 40,000 new residential units in the Golden Mile plan, and also over 1 million square feet of retail and office space. Where are all these people going to get their services? How is the infrastructure going to address the demands on the system? Water, sewage, transportation, community development, community benefits, such as other services that residents will need. As Mike has mentioned, and Laura, we don't know anything about what's happening in the future in terms of what supports will go into the community based on the Golden Mile redevelopment. And so we're already going to take an impact based on the densification that's going to happen. And as my neighbors have mentioned, we understand that's going to happen. We accept it, but does not mean that it needs to be a crawl, take a crawling effect and spread into the community that's in the interior. We're going to have increased traffic, increased congestion, and as these lots start to be severed and a precedent happens, it's just going to make the matters worse. The other thing that my neighbors have mentioned is the historical character. All these houses are single-family homes, and yes, some have been redeveloped and are bigger, and but they have maintained the character of the community, and there is a cohesiveness in the community, and that's why everyone loves living there. Myself and my son, we've been there almost 10 years. We absolutely love it. But these changes, I understand change happens, but doesn't mean that it has to happen in a haphazard way without consultation with the community and without assessing the impacts on future developments in regards to the Golden Mile redevelopment and the LRT that's coming into our community. We're already going to be impacted quite a lot. And also in regards to the infrastructure, we have basement flooding issues already, and bringing all these extra homes and these condos, we have not gotten any update on how that's going to be addressed. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a sec. Somebody.
Oh, sorry, one last thing. Sorry, my apologies. I'm reading a letter on behalf of Councillor Parthy Candeval. He's given it to all the neighbors here regarding 24 Kingswell Crescent, letter of objection. My office has received numerous communications regarding the consent to sever request for 24 Kingswell Crescent and the proposal to construct two single detached dwellings which significantly exceed the area and height bylaws. Given the breadth of the community concern, I request that the committee give appropriate and meaningful weight to these impacts regarding this decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay. Any other speakers? I think we've got one more.
Thank you. My name is Peter Gilpin, 19 Kingswell
Can you
Crescent.
speak right into the mic?
Sorry about that. Peter Gilpin, 19 Kingswell Crescent, Scarborough, Ontario, M1L 3E2. I live directly across from the new proposed house. I'm going to read a letter that was submitted to us from other neighbors across the street and on the same side. Okay, sorry. A couple of items have been mentioned in this letter that I will read out. Encroachment on setbacks. The proposed construction of 2 new homes on the severed lot would encroach upon existing setbacks on all sides of the property. Setbacks are crucial for maintaining the character of the neighborhood, ensuring adequate spacing between properties, and preserving green spaces. The encroachment would disrupt the establishment of visual and spatial harmony of the area, potentially leading to overcrowding and diminish aesthetic appeal. Exceeding maximum permitted height. Additionally, the proposal seeks to exceed the maximum permitted height for residential buildings. Height restrictions are in place to prevent visual obstructions, maintain privacy, maintain sunlight access, and preserve the overall scale and character of the neighborhood. By surpassing these regulations, the proposed development may overshadow neighborhood properties, block sunlight, invade privacy as well. Impact on the neighborhood aesthetically and property value. The combination of encroachments on the setbacks and exceeding height limits could significantly impact the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Such deviations from zoning regulations may set a precedent for future development, leading to further encroachments and alterations that erode the unique charm and appeal of the community. Moreover, there is a concern that these changes could adversely affect property value for surrounding homes, as buyers may be deterred by the altering landscape and loss of neighborhood cohesion. Profit-oriented development versus family-oriented community. We are deeply concerned that the proposed development prioritizes profit over well-being of the community. Unlike the family-oriented character of the remaining homes of the neighborhood, the construction of 2 new homes on the severed lot appears to be driven primarily for financial motives. This departure from the neighborhood establishment values and ethos could lead to a decline in the sense of community and cohesion within the current defined areas, and potential precedent for further similar development. This type of development, if approved, could set a dangerous precedent for the neighborhood. Once one property is granted such variance, it opens the doors for similar developments to follow suit, further altering the landscape and character of the community. It is essential to consider the long-term implications and potential domino effect of approaching this variance application. We respectfully urge the committee to carefully consider the long-term implications of the proposed minor variance application. That is signed by 22 Kingswell Crescent, 21 Kingswell Crescent, 20 Kingswell Crescent, 19 Kingswell, 26 Kingswell, 17 Harris Park, and 15 Harris Park Drive as well. For my own observations of this house, I must concur with everybody here. I'm a runner, and I have ran my neighborhood numerous times, and there is nothing like this development anywhere from St. Clair over to Warden, up to Eglinton, and over to the Victoria Park. Yes, we have homes, single-dwelling homes that have toppers, that have enlarged their homes, but they are one-family home. And they look lovely, they look great, they can continue to develop the character of the neighborhood, but there is nothing like the proposal in that section of Clairlee.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, Mr. Stinson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation, sir. The height and size of the buildings has been discussed by yourself and the other neighbors. The height issue, am I reading the numbers correct, that for the one building, it's supposed to be 9 meters, but they're asking for a variance of 9.29 meters, and the other building is, excuse me a minute here, is supposed to be 7 meters, but they're asking for 8.4. Am I correct in these numbers?
Mike's the keeper of the numbers.
I don't have the actual.
Okay, let's just leave that for now, but this is the information that's before me, and if my colleagues correct me, I'll apologize now. But if that's the difference that we're talking about, I just want to be clear, because there's been reference to this incredible height, and I'm noting the numbers, so I want to just confirm with you folks, and if you don't know the numbers right now, that's fine, the paperwork has it.
Yeah, and I'm just, I don't know the numbers, I'll leave it to Mike, but I live across the way, and the elevation, so I live higher, so even Mike's house, I almost look right in their second floor window. So I will be looking directly into either someone's bedroom or someone's kitchen if they go 3 stories high. And it's just across the street. So from my standpoint, I'll be looking directly into somebody's window based on the height.
If I may add to that?
No. Okay, thank you. Okay. No other speakers? Okay, the applicant has 5 minutes to provide further comments. Marianne?
Yes, I really appreciate all the neighbors showing up. I only wish that they would submit their objection letters so I could reach out to them personally with the homeowner and try to address their concerns prior. We have received no letters of objection, hence I was not very worried about today's hearing. But now that I hear their point of view, they're all respectful. And I understand that in every neighborhood, when there are changes such as this, especially people who have been living there for a long time, it's not easy to adjust to new changes. But as we know, the city is growing, the population is growing, and we know that our next generation, what they need is not to keep in the same character, but to grow with them. And majority of the comments are regarding the congestion in the neighborhood, but they are referring to the major developments along the major streets, which is understandable. What we are proposing is 2 single detached dwellings, which regardless, right now, City of Toronto is permitting 4plexes on each lot, and permitting garden suite as well as a triplex on a main dwelling. And that's not what we are looking for. What we are looking for still is within the character of the neighborhood, for 2 single families moving into the neighborhood, and always building a new home, it increases the value of the other neighbors. As we see, Mike is showing up, our lovely neighbor. His home is not within the character of the neighborhood, but it's a beautiful home to look at as we are walking alongside that road. And I believe if I'm not used to that kind of scenery, I would be objecting to that. But I'm a designer. I appreciate art. I appreciate beauty. And I appreciate what he has built in the neighborhood. And I'm really hoping that everyone would come to terms with the changes that are not only happening in this neighborhood, but in the whole city. And we are not the first people coming forward and requesting these changes. And I'm hoping that the committee would consider this application for approval. And we are trying to keep everything as minimum. Another thing that they mentioned is regarding heights. the problem is the neighborhood and the neighbor in the rear side of the lot. As we see, the land is sloping back, and their house is way lower than where our street is. That's why he might be noticing the height. But again, the height variance is only 0.29 meters. It's literally less than 3 feet. And I believe it's still minor. Yeah, these are the things that I only wanted to mention, and I leave the rest to the committee and hoping that we get your approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, committee. I think we're at the stage where we're going into committee. Any comments?
Thank you, Chair. There is no doubt about the authenticity and the truth of the people that have come today to express themselves. I have no doubts at all of it, any of it, absolutely. We work within the rules that are set for us. One of the speakers actually touched on that today. The rules stipulate that we have to look at the application in front of us and we have to apply the 4-test rule. I will now digress from that point of view of due process and say also that it is unique to me that one of your deputants has also spoken to not wanting the structure but was able to build his dream house. And it is not in keeping with some of the houses on the street. It's not original, and it's beautiful. This is the dilemma always faced by this committee. What change is good? What change can we proceed with? And in generational terms, it's a constant flow that's been going on for over 100 years. So in short, I'm going to I'm not going to disregard the application. I'm going to approve it if given an opportunity, but I wanted the people here today to know why. And I appreciate what you told us, and that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mr. Stinson made some good comments. I think the people who spoke today spoke eloquently. And on a personal level, if we could keep some of the old beautiful houses and things the way they are, I wish we could. In your neighborhood, my neighborhood. But as Mr. Stinson said, this committee is governed by the tests, not only by the tests, but by the official plan, by the provincial guidelines, and like the Golden Horseshoe guidelines. There are many guidelines, and as much as, you know, we hear what you're saying, we have to look at all those things when we make our decisions. And there was a time where lot studies came into play, where they did look at the lot patterns, and that is no longer the case. The city wants intensification. They want to see this kind of development happening in neighborhoods. They want to maximize on lots. And, you know, to your point about it's not affordable housing, most of it, I would agree with you, but it is intensification. And I too, you know, as a committee member, I will also be supporting the application because of what we have to look at as committee members.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, I get the sense, I see this a little differently than my colleagues. This is somewhat similar, but in other ways very different from the last application. I don't know if any of you were here.
We were here.
I saw that as an area in transition. I don't see this as an area in transition. I've just taken a virtual walk around the neighborhood a few times as you've been speaking. I see this as a very stable neighborhood. Laura, I believe, first mentioned her concern about this being a precedent case, and I share that concern. I think the lots proposed are too narrow. The area is insufficient, and the resultant homes are too narrow and too tall. And it would look very different in this stable area of predominantly bungalows and 1.5-story homes. So I won't be supporting the application, the consent or the minor variances.
Thank you. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have very few words to say. I go by the book. And I do understand the necessity of housing shortage. I do understand the examples given in the area, but not this in particular area. And when I have 8 variances in front of me, I see that I won't be supporting this application.
Thank you. I'm going to speak on this application as well. I echo Mr. Taylor's words. I drove around this neighborhood. I saw that there are, to my knowledge, no consents, no severances in this neighborhood. It's a stable neighborhood. In my opinion, you don't destabilize the neighborhood from the middle. If you're going to look at creating more consents, you do it on Pharmacy Avenue, you do it on Victoria Park. I looked at Pharmacy Avenue because you know, and you've addressed that you're getting a lot of development on the east side of Pharmacy. We've had at this committee the applications for the Golden Mile redevelopment, the apartments. So we know that this is changes on the outside. But I don't happen to believe that changes have to occur everywhere all the same. I think there is a reason for variety. I think there's a reason for diversity. And in this area, I think this is an area that is different and probably will remain different for the next 20 or 30 years. I will not be supporting this application. Okay, so I now need a motion. Oh, Mr. Taylor, okay.
I'll make a single motion comprising the consent and the 2 minor variances. I won't repeat everything I said, but I find that the lot frontages and areas are not compatible with the, in the immediate context or even the broader neighborhood, looking at the location map as I've been studying. I find the 3 of the variances to be particularly egregious to me: the lot frontage, the lot area, and the 3 stories, none of which are compatible with this neighborhood. So on that basis, I find the consent to be inappropriate development for this area. I find the variances to be not in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move refusal.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I will second the motion.
Okay. I have a motion to refuse the applications, the consents, and the variances for this property, number 24 Kingswell Crescent, put forth by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Khan. All those in support of the refusal? All those in opposition? Okay, the refusal carries 3-2. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I ask a question now that that's over?
No.
Am I allowed to hug everyone?
No.
No.
You can hug your neighbors. I encourage that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a good day, folks.
Okay. We have 2 more applications. Members, number 24 Edgeley and number 26, which is on Birchmount Road. Do you need a 5-minute break or can we proceed? You're okay? Everyone's okay? Good. Okay. Yes, I see you've been sitting here for a few minutes, few hours, an entire day. Okay, so this is number 24, South Edgeley. Let me just pull everything up here. Okay, we have an application for number 17 South Edgeley Avenue. The application is a consent to create 2 new lots having a frontage of 7.42 meters each and a minimum lot area of 280 meters square, or the second one is 284 meters. That application is accompanied by variances. There are 7 variances: minimum lot area, frontage, coverage, wall height, building length, parking dimensions, and encroachment of the eaves. I have the applicant in front of me. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter? Is she a neighbor or?
She's my wife.
Okay, didn't recognize her. We have a neighbor who is listed who wishes to speak. Okay, so, Mr. Applicant, would you please proceed? You have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
My name is Patrick McAuliffe. I'm the agent for the owner. This site is in a neighborhood where for 2 blocks each side of it and 6 blocks north of it.
Sir, could you kindly speak into the mic, close to the mic? I'll appreciate.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
This entire neighborhood is filled with 25 by 125 foot lots. 2 lots are formed together to form 1 lot with 1 house on it. That is the way most of the neighborhood is, but there's still some individual 25 by 125 foot lots in that neighborhood. On this particular lot, it was sort of the end of the street where it joins a street that has lots adjacent to it. So it wasn't quite to 25 by 125 foot lots. One of the lots was slightly smaller. So our plan is, which already has 2 lots, is to redivide it so that we can build 2 equal houses on it. So there's already 2 lots there, and there's going to be 2 lots afterwards. That's regarding the lots. We did a proposal for this and sent it in, and the planning department was not very pleased with it. So we redesigned the houses, and to the point where now the planning department is happy with it. They have no issues with it. So on the issues, most of the issues are quite normal for the project type that we're doing. I'd like to point out that the last item on both houses is for the 0.4, I think it is, to the property line. But that one is for the proposed encroachment for the eaves. But that one is on where the 2 houses come together. It doesn't affect any new neighbors. So all the other issues are pretty common for this type of project. I would like to point out that there was an error on these forms. On the form for, let's get this straight now. On the form for, it's part lot 1, but it doesn't say on here that it's part lot 1. It just says 17 South Edgeley Avenue. It's not the severance one. On that one, it says that the lot is 7.42 meters wide. On the B one, it says that the lot is 7.42 meters wide. 7.42 meters wide. But it's not. If you go to this consent form, you'll see that the lots are, one is 7.42 and the other is 7.27. So the form that went out regarding lot part 2, under number, which one is it now? Under number 2, it says 7.24 when it should really read 7.27. Now, the item number 1, on this one, item number 1.
Through the chair, just a question for the applicant. Are you indicating that the notice is incorrect?
Yes. Yes.
So for part 2, if you can, staff, can you pull up the public hearing notice for the consent application, please? If you could zoom in, please. So you're indicating for part
So-
2, it should be 7.24? Is that
No.
what you're suggesting?
No, that one is correct. But if you go to part 2 of the forms that were sent out, the public hearing notice, if you go to part 2,
For the consent, for the minor variance application?
yes,
Okay.
So it should be 7.27, you said?
Through the chair, like it's the minor variance application for part 2, correct?
part 2 is the one that,
Okay, we're going to pull that up right now.
Would that be variance 242 that we're looking at?
yes.
Okay.
Item number 2 says 2.42, does it not?
Through the chair, this proceeded, I believe, through a zoning waiver, and this is if in fact the applicant is requesting a variance for 7.24 or 27, sorry, we will need to defer this item in order to provide proper notice, and we need a revised zoning waiver.
Now, I'd like to point out that the calculations for number 1 and the calculations for number 3 are correct based on the 2.27.
Sorry, you've got me confused. How many lots are you creating?
We're creating 2 lots.
Okay, 2 lots.
Yeah,
What's the minimum frontage of lot number 1?
2.42,
2.42.
right,
That's the frontage?
yes.
2.42?
Yeah, sorry, 7.42, sorry, 7.42.
Okay, 7.42 is the frontage. The frontage of the second one?
7.27,
7.27. So the consent application, which identifies the
That's all
frontage
correct.
and lot area for that consent application, is that correct in your?
that's correct.
Okay, so the consent application is correct. Now, the variance application is what is incorrect.
For part 1 is correct.
So part 1, which says, just in the frontage,
It's correct, and all the calculations for figures 1 and 3 are correct on part 1.
okay,
Through the chair, we're going to pull up the zoning waiver
yeah.
for this.
Through
Give us-
you,
give us a
Madam
moment.
Chair, can I ask Mr. Deputy Secretary, Treasurer a question? So 24C is part 1, right? 24B is part 2, because it doesn't say in there that it's part 2, so just want to confirm. And then the other question is, once you've checked the zoning waiver and everything, because this would be less frontage, does it need to be recirculated? So it's not, and all the other numbers are correct, all the other variances?
That's correct.
Do we still have to recirculate?
Yes,
even
because
though
it's asking
less?
for a greater variance.
Okay,
So its statutory notice has not been
okay.
fulfilled. We're pulling up we've just pulled up the zoning waiver. This is the zoning waiver for part 2, which indicates a requested lot frontage of 7.42, which is reflected in the public hearing notice.
Okay, it's the other one that's the problem, isn't it? It's the 7.27 that's the problem.
Through the chair, this is for part 2.
Okay, what does part 1 say then?
It's correct.
Part one is not the variance in question.
It's correct, 2.42.
Okay.
So it's 24B on our stuff here. That's incorrect, is that right? Yeah, because
That's correct. It is 24B in your agenda package.
So we have to defer, so that's really,
This cannot be handled as an amended application because the variance that's being requested, the amended variance is actually,
can you bring it back on the next agenda or one of the 2 June agendas or not?
it would, I believe it could. Let me just check.
Okay, thanks.
Through the chair, this is not a staff error. This isn't a staff error by the applicant. So the earliest we can get it is for the June 26th agenda.
Sorry, you can put it on the next agenda? June 26th. Okay, Mr. McAuliffe. Fair amount of confusion here.
Yep.
And I had some confusion even reading your variances because your first variance is, instead of being fairly straightforward, was confusing. So, does he have to submit a new letter?
Sorry?
Does he have to submit a new letter? Because the information that was submitted and that you posted is incorrect.
Through the chair, upon further review, engineering construction services is recommending deferral of the application until a revised survey plan and site plan are provided for staff review. It really should be recirculated for
Okay.
technical review.
Okay.
With a revised package that includes a new zoning waiver.
All right, Mr. McAuliffe, I guess the position here is that we need to start over. Not really start over, but we can't deal with this item today.
Yeah,
we're going to have to defer it. The Transportation and Construction has asked for indication of exactly the frontage and lot area as per a survey. Now, it's obviously a draft survey, but I gather that you have not proceeded to the draft survey or did not submit it at the time.
Right.
Once we have received that, then we can issue a new notice with the correct frontage and lot area and any other variances that you wish to change, if you want to change any, or the same variances. But we probably need a letter from you. We're going to need a new draft survey and a letter from you indicating what is the minimum frontage and minimum lot area, and are the variances that you have requested to remain the same. I think that can be done fairly simply through a letter. Is that correct, staff? Would that be satisfactory?
We would need a submission that addresses I'm not sure if it's not a letter. It's a revised package.
Yeah. Revised waiver, basically. Sorry, a revised waiver?
Revised waiver, revised waiver if you're going to be doing that, because we're going to need to be recirculating this. So you might the engineering and construction, the revised survey and site plan, as well. And we will
The surveys are all correct, and the site plans are all correct. It only appears in this one location.
I'm sorry.
The surveys and the site plans are all correct.
Do you have a survey that was not submitted?
It's only on this one form.
Okay, then if that's the case, it would be a revised zoning waiver.
Can we get into the next meeting?
No, we will need to circulate this because it's for review, because all the commenting divisions have not seen the I guess the revised the new zoning waivers. We need to review that. Commenting divisions need to review that.
Okay.
The other thing through the chair is that there is someone, if the applicant is agreeable to a deferral, there is a speaker online.
And she's online?
You will need to check.
Yep.
I would suggest checking with the applicant first if they are okay with the deferral. If so, check with the person online if they're in support of a deferral.
Okay. All right. First of all, is Ms. Haig online? Okay, good. So hopefully she has heard this somewhat confusing discussion. Okay, Mr. McAuliffe. Recommendation is that you resubmit, that it needs to be circulated, and unfortunately, that would not bring you back to the next meeting, 1st of June.
Okay, I asked for deferral.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Haig?
Through the chair, just for clarity, I guess for the deferral to revise, at the request of the applicant to revise the application.
Yes, I asked for a deferral to revise the application and the
Okay.
waiver.
All right, so you're asking for a deferral of the consent and 2 variance applications in order to make revisions. That's
Right.
basically what you're asking for.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Ms. Haig, is she online?
Naeem, you've been unmuted.
Okay. Ms. Haig, what has happened
Be
here?
able to repeat it because I cut off.
Pardon? Is Ms. Haig online? Or
Go ahead.
Okay, is it Mr. Haig? I'm sorry.
Mr.
Mr. Sorry. Okay, Mr.
Hawk,
Haig.
yeah, it's all good.
Mr. Haig, what has occurred here is that the application that is in front of us contains some errors. And because it contains some errors and is not what the applicant wants, we're going to have to recirculate this application. So the applicant has asked for a deferral so he can make the corrections. We've agreed to the deferral, and I am simply informing you that this application is proposed to be deferral. The only question you have is, do you agree to the deferral or do you not agree to the deferral? We don't want to get into the merits of the application. That's not even in front of us. It's really, are you in agreement with the deferral?
I'm in agreement.
You agree? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Callis. Thank you, sir. We will re-notify and address this item at a later time. Thank you.
Through the chair, you need a motion and you need to vote on it.
Okay. I had Mr. Taylor.
I'll move deferral to enable correct notice and to resolve outstanding issues with engineering and construction services.
I have a recommendation for a deferral from Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Stinson.
Chair, I'll second the motion. Thank you.
All those in favor? Okay, that application is deferred. Okay, the last application for the day is 315 Birchmount Road. Okay, our last application for today is a consent and 2 variances for 315 Birchmount Road. The application for consent is to create 2 new lots with a frontage of 7.62 meters and an area of 244 meters square. The variances, I believe, are for the dwellings on the lots that I think I made note that either the frontage or the area is already permitted. Let me just double check. Yes, the variances are for lot coverage and a lot area for the part 2. But the lot frontage fits in both cases. Okay. So, is the applicant online?
Rafiq, you've been unmuted.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and good evening, Committee of Adjustment member. So I'm here to represent the owner of lot 315 Birchmount.
Okay. I think this is a fairly straightforward severance. Does the committee wish a presentation? Nope. Is there anything that you wish to add to your application, sir? We've got it as a consent to create two lots.
Yeah, I'll just mention that the consent is in line with the surrounding lots. So the one just behind us is exactly the same frontage and split into 2. And also we have several ones beside the property that are also split into 2 or smaller than the one we have. For the variances, we have very minor variance, just additional coverage. We complied with the setbacks, side, back, and front, and then we complied with that. Just the coverage is more than what's required by 37 instead of 33 on one of them, and then I think the other one also in the same range. So we complied with the setbacks. So the result is a bit of more coverage than allowed, which is what we're seeking variance for.
Okay. We have conditions of development engineering and tree preservation clauses. Have you read those reports?
Yes, we acknowledge receipt of the conditions and we will comply with the conditions.
Okay. All right. Committee. What is the wish of the committee?
If there are no comments from my colleagues, I'm okay to move a motion unless anybody has any questions, comments, no?
Okay, we're now in committee.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that this is appropriate development for the site. Most of the lots in the area are quite small. There's commercial across the street. There are some older homes in the area. It's an arterial, and it's where we want to see intensification. So I would move approval of the application, including the engineering and forestry conditions, as it meets the 4 tests and is appropriate for that site.
Thank you. I have a motion for approval. Mr. Taylor?
Yes, I would like to second that and just make a comment that this is what I would call as close to a natural severance, as I used to call them, as I've ever seen. Lots perfectly aligned with the immediate context, 2 very minor variances. Thank God.
An easy application, and it's very straightforward, yes. Okay, so I have a motion for
Through
approval.
the chair, there are also Metrolinx conditions as well on this that are not reflected. I believe they're included in the package, the supplemental package.
Okay, hold
We
So
can,
it-
we
it
can,
should
we
be
can,
part of
we,
the-
we can put that on, we could share our screen with that, so everybody can see it.
Metrolinx?
They are? I only show a counselor letter in the SUP unless I'm missing something. I don't see Metrolinx here.
No, I don't see Metrolinx either. It's not listed.
Yeah. Is it something that came in late maybe, or?
It's not on the supplementary agenda. I'm looking at it right now.
No, it's a. Sure.
I believe our position with Metrolinx is either it's a warning or it's an easement. In any case, they have to satisfy Metrolinx prior to getting a building permit. So whether we add it to the consent application,
Through-
variances or not, it's really immaterial.
Through the chair, our apologies, it was not included in the, in any of the agenda packages that we're going to share our screen right now.
Okay.
To show it. It's, Metrolinx is recommending entering into an environmental easement and along with a warning clause.
Okay.
Okay, so Madam Chair, I would include that in my motion then, along with forestry and.
Through the chair, I'm sorry to sorry to interrupt. You may want to, confirm with the applicant that they're aware of this condition?
Yes, we received these conditions on April 23rd, and we notified the owner, and they acknowledged receipt and will comply with the conditions.
Okay. Okay. All right. Mr. Oman.
Okay, so I move the motion again then to approve the application for all the reasons outlined previously, including engineering, forestry, and Metrolinx conditions.
Thank you, and that's the consent and the two variances, correct?
Yeah, the whole package.
Okay.
And I will second that.
So I have a motion by Mr. Oman and it's seconded by Mr. Taylor. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Last item I have to deal with, I forgot last time, is do I have a motion for dismissal?
To adjourn, go ahead, Dave.
Chair, I'll put forth a motion to adjourn today, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. All those in favor? Let's go. Okay, we are adjourned.